let's start. I've shared the question and the solution, so let's follow through. And as you've practiced, if you've practiced, fine. If you've not practiced, then please take your time to look at the questions and the answers after this. So I'll be sharing some very powerful tips. This one is one of the most recent exams. I'll tell you the diet after the debrief session. But it's most recent, but very, very pepperish, quite pepperish. When I was going through it, I was like, wow. The examiner tested almost everywhere in the case study text. So we also need to run in our lecture.
Okay.
Apologies, AAA. I'm used to case study.
I have to think again. Are we stay Monday or Tuesday? I have to think again.
I'm telling you. Apologies. So AAA, it was more of a very, very pepperish. In fact, it tested almost everything in the case study in the AAA text. So we'll look at where he tested, but then we need to really take note of what he did, and we'll also have to cover very fast the remaining 14 topics. We are still in chapter 2, so we need to run from Friday. We need to start running. Looking at least, let's touch every part of chapter 3 down to 16 before the exam. We're supposed to stop lectures at the end of April. So every lecture we may need to cover 2 topics or 2 chapters. Very, very important. So we'll run. Because when I looked at the past questions, I was a bit scared. I was like, these questions are tough. But then, I'm telling you, very tough. I was so scared. But then we'll ace it. Okay, so the question 1. If you can look at the screen, or if you've downloaded the paper, question 1 tested leadership qualities for leadership responsibilities for quality, ethical requirements, acceptance, and continuance of engagements. It tested human resources, engagement performance of an audit firm, monitoring quality, documentation generally. So if you look at the screen, as I've shared, the question says, a firm of chartered accountants has 25 partners and 100 audit staff. The firm provides a range of audit assurance, tax, and advisory consultancy services. The firm has offices around the country and clients ranging from sole traders to limited liability companies. The quality control partner has recently resigned. He has not been replaced as the board of the partners of the firm have not been able to find a suitable replacement. Before his departure, quality control partner was in the process of implementing a system of ethical compliance for assurance staff. Based on the foregoing, staff will be required to confirm in writing their compliance with the code of ethics. Hence, implementation of this system is incomplete. Oshodi PLC is one of the firm's largest clients, for which the firm provides audit, tax, and other advisory services. A new engagement partner has been assigned to the audit, as the previous partner in charge was the one who resigned. The fee for the audit work and other services have been set at the same level as the previous year, in spite of the fact that additional work would need to be performed because Oshodi PLC has introduced a new computerized system. The start date of the audit has been delayed due to problems with the new system. Management of Oshodi PLC was very insistent that the fee should not be increased as a result of this. Required. Discuss the requirements of ISQC1, International Standard on Quality Control on overall audit firm level, which addresses each of the following: leadership qualities, leadership responsibilities for quality, ethical requirements, acceptance and continuance of engagements, human resources, engagement performance, monitoring, and documentation. So this case study carries 30 marks. Leadership has leadership responsibility for quality, 3 marks. Documentation, 3 marks. Monitoring, 4 marks. The other 5 questions from B to E. Yeah, B to E, 20 marks, 5 marks each. Not a simple question, because if you don't know the ISQC standards, it may be hard aligning the answers to those standards. And that was that he tested that in, or the case study material, he referenced chapter 2, the regulatory environment. So if you look at the question was basically around the regulatory environment of audit, looking at the standards.
So ISQC 1 is the regulatory environment of audit.
Yes, that's in the chapter 2. Yeah, chapter 2.
How will somebody cram all these things? Huh?
You won't cram it. You just have to understand it.
ISQ, FIRS, FIAIS. My goodness. How? God.
You know, the regulatory environment is a key part of the regulatory framework governing audit firms. So you really need to know it. And that's what he tested in that question. And the other questions, chapter 5, practice management. We've not even looked at practice management that concerns quality control, which is a fundamental aspect of how audit firms manage their practice. So we need to run so that we can look at very fast in the lectures, quality control, which is fundamental. So you see that question 1. Yes, please. Go ahead, please.
Sir, I actually thought this is about practice management. Like chapter 5.
Yes, but he also tested the regulatory environment, ISQC 1. ISQC 1 is in the regulatory environment, chapter 2. So that's where he tested. Okay. So basically, the question 1, he tested chapter 2 and chapter 5. So we are still in the regulatory environment. We have looked at some ISQCs, but then we still need to go back. And that is why, as I've shared the pocket notes, Julie, please look at the pocket notes. Even if you can't go through the quick study text, is voluminous. Yeah. The summary notes, those notes will help you just do a recap and give you quick points. It's not voluminous, so it's not. It will not be scary to go through them. So that question, he tested the regulatory environment and practice management. Those 2 areas were what he tested. So Timothy, in answering your question, though you didn't ask a question, so your observation is not only chapter 5 he tested chapter 2. ISQC is the regulatory environment. Sir. Yeah, you're welcome. So let's look at the answer. How are you to answer this kind of question? Very important. So you will see that you need to answer comprehensively, covering the requirements of ISQC 1. You need to identify and discuss each of the elements, structure your answer logically, and your points should be generally well explained. The level of detail seems to be appropriate or will earn you the marks. The level of detail you provide is very, very important for this question. So it's a 30-mark question and it's compulsory. So you need to emphasize the key requirements mentioned in ISQC 1. If you don't know it, you cannot mention it. And they include like the policies and procedures, ultimate responsibility, and operational responsibility also. So if you look at the question, you see that the quality control procedures that apply within a firm will reflect the nature and size of the audit. So the requirements, you see that leadership responsibilities, ethical requirements. So those headers and subheaders are very important in answering the question. So to earn your mark, 1 mark is allocated for each of these points. So please state the requirement and briefly explain its significance in the context of the firm's situation. So for example, the lack of a quality control partner. The lack of a quality control partner. You've picked a point based on that requirement you stated and in the context of what happened to the partner that resigned. Very important. So in answering the question, you first need to know the ISQCs, understand the requirement, then you should be able to answer the question. So the mark allocation is very important. You take note of it so that it will help you write. So 1 mark is allocated for each of the points. state the requirement and briefly explain its significance in the context of the firm's situation. So like policies and procedures, ultimate responsibility, and the operational responsibility. This is key. So the A aspect talked about, you can see how it's answered. Number one, they provided the ISQC requirement and they provided a context. So 3 marks. If you look at the A part, 3 marks. So you need to write 3 points at least to earn 3 marks. So 2 lines is okay. The first point should be on the requirement, then the second 2, one on the ultimate responsibility, the second one on operational responsibility. Under this subheader, leadership responsibility. So please take note of that. Then the second part, you'll be able to answer on ethical requirements. So state the ISQC is very important, because at this point, if you don't know this ISQC, you may lose mark, but you may be able to answer the last 2 points since it's a general application to the case. But then it's good you know these ISQCs, go through the pocket notes to identify them, understand them, so that you'll be able to apply them. So for the ethical requirements, also state the ISQC and also the requirements very graphically. And the maintenance of independence also, the staff issues around HR and people management. You need to state how to approach that very, very systematically also. Very important. So to be able to earn marks, you need to have at least 1 point, 1 or 2 lines in writing. So you need to write. Don't be scanty and don't be too elaborate. Be precise. 1, 2 lines, 1 mark. 1, 2 lines, 1 mark. So please be very mark conscious. As you are writing, be very, very mark conscious. Write within the context of what he asks you to do. So part B, you see part B, the first part is 3 marks. Let me go back. The first part is 3 marks. Yes, part A, 3 marks. Leadership quality for leadership responsibility for quality. So please, to earn those 3 marks, state the points 1, 2, 3. Don't just write 1 full paragraph to earn 3 marks. Write 3 different paragraphs. You are trying to tell the examiner that I'm earning my 3 marks. But if you like to 1 full paragraph, he may be confused reading between the lines to give you your 3 marks. So please write 3 different paragraphs.
Did he request for 3 or this is the way it is?
No, he didn't request for 3. So let's go back to the question. Thank you for that question, Julie. So he said you should explain leadership responsibility for quality. So if you want to write this now, okay, I would suggest you write them one by one.
Exactly. Because the 3 marks there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Technical requirements, that is 5. Put 5.
Thank you, Julie. You are now getting the point. You get the point now. That's what I'm trying to establish. Exactly. Okay. So a lot of people will just write leadership responsibility for quality as a header. Then they'll just write 1 full paragraph and expect the examiner to give them 3 marks in that 1 paragraph. It will be hard. So state it in 2 lines, 1 point, 2 lines, 1 point, 2 lines, 1 point, precise. He knows that this person, he may not even be able to read it, but because you structured it that way, he'll just give you 3 marks. That's another strategy.
Yeah.
But if you write it fully in 1 paragraph, he may not give you the marks. I'm glad you are getting this point. I'm very happy you are getting it.
Understand?
Yeah.
And every other thing too.
Yes. And every other thing. Very important. Okay. So that's for, okay, you are looking at the answers. Where is the, I lost the document. Just a minute. Where is the question? I need to post the question so that as we are discussing, we are looking at question and the answers at the same time. Good. So the question is here. So now, ethical requirement says 5 marks. So when you are discussing ethical requirement, you state number 1 point, the ISQC the ISQC requirements for establishment of policies. Then you state 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this situation, for the ISQC requirements, you can put it in one full paragraph. But if you can remember, then you put it in bullet points. But it's not necessary to put it in bullet points, because this bullet points is just to differentiate the marks or differentiate the points. But if you cannot remember putting it in bullet points, please write it in one full paragraph, because that will only earn you 1 mark for the requirement. Yes. So if you remember bullet points, bullet it, stratifying your points. But if you don't, write it in one full paragraph. Now, going back here is 5 marks. So the second point to pick is on the independence maintenance. So if you cannot bullet it, bulleting is good. Please put it in one paragraph. But just make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points are mentioned. So we have 1, communicate or communication of independence requirement, identification of circumstances, staff notification of the firm circumstances, staff notification of breaches of independence, the firm communication of breaches of engagement partner. So if you can give 5 of these, please don't write more than 5. You don't have time. Just take note of the 5 marks here, write 5 points, and move on. So whatever you are doing, be very, very, very mark conscious. That's how to earn your marks. So focus on policies and procedure to comply with ethical requirements, independence, communication, threat identification, and maintaining independence, like you saw. Staff notification, breach communication, action. 2 marks for the policy and procedures, and 3 marks for maintaining independence. So you need to identify specific ethical threats in the scenario. That would be like 3 marks. Yeah, you can add it, the threats in the scenario, like the person resigning and the firm providing multiple services to Oshodi PLC, the fee issue, and how ISQC1 addresses them. So that's how to earn the marks strategically. Very, very important. So take note of that, and that will be for number 2. So once you're able to write 5, you move on. So number C, acceptance and continuance of engagement, 5 marks. Acceptance and continuance of engagement, 5 marks. So you need to highlight the firm's need for reasonable assurance. You need to highlight the firm's need for reasonable assurance. Highlight it. Speak about the need for reasonable assurance. The reasonable assurance should be tailored towards competence, capability, ethical compliance, client integrity. Then focus on the firm's policy requirements like information gathering, conflict of interest, documentation, and the engagement partner's responsibility. So your discussion should generally center around this to be able to earn your marks. So it's a 5-mark question also, acceptance and continuance of engagement. So at least minimum you write 5. So you can see that you have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you have about a plethora of 9 options to write from the examiner gave you. So once you're able to give 5 potent ones, commercially viable ones, you are okay. So take note of that. And it's very important to pick your marks and be very mark conscious. So 2 marks for policies and procedures. Also 2 marks for policy requirements and 1 marks for the engagement partners role. So 2 marks for policy and procedures, 2 marks for policy requirements, and 1 mark for the engagement partners role. So you need to discuss the issues with Oshodi PLC, like the fee pressure and delayed start of the job in relation to acceptance and continuance. So take note of that in your discussion. All right. So that will be for the C aspect. Then D, human resources, also 5 marks. Human resources, 5 marks. So you need to emphasize the need for sufficient personnel with competence, appropriate team assignments, and policies for recruitment, training, and development. So your discussion or your thoughts should center around this. So 1 mark for each relevant point. So you need to write 5 and stratify them. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So itemize them. Don't write in one full paragraph. Give each marks separately. It will earn you your mark very, very seamlessly. So 1 mark for each relevant point. Also discuss the resignation of the quality control partner. It's very important, and its implication on human resource and also talent hunting for another person. So discuss its implication among your points. Okay, so let's look at the next one, engagement performance. Engagement performance. We need to focus on policies for consistent quality. Our discussion should center around supervision, review, consultation, engagement with quality control reviews, dealing with differences of opinion, and documentation. So that's what your discussion should center around. So you could have subheaders like policy and procedures, list points there. Then you could also have sub-bullet points, maybe to provide context to what you are doing. But if you cannot provide bullet points, just make sure you adequately number your points up to 5. That's just the point I'm raising. So you have up to 7 provided by the examiner. Just make sure you number your 5 and pick your marks. That is very, very important. Okay, so number 6. Is it number 6 now? Yes, number 6, monitoring. F, monitoring. So that one step down to 4 marks. So you need to provide 4 points for monitoring. Is it monitoring or engagement performance? Sorry, engagement performance. I beg your pardon. We're looking at engagement performance before monitoring. Okay, so engagement performance. You need to focus on policies for consistent quality. Where am I? I think I'm mixing up something. Okay, yes, I've spoken about engagement performance.
Exactly.
Yes, I'm on E, yes, monitoring. Okay, sorry about that. I'm on monitoring. So monitoring, we need to highlight the need for monitoring processes, responsibility, assignment, evaluation of deficiencies. So if you look at monitoring, you need to provide at least 4 points. 4 points. The examiner allocated 4 marks to that. So 4 good points separately numbered will give you the marks for this part F part of the question. So you need to communicate those deficiencies. After you've evaluated the deficiencies, communicate them and write for potential further action on those deficiencies. So to earn your mark, you need to have at least 1 mark for each relevant point, since it's 4 marks allocated, and also discuss the lack of a quality control partner and the potential impact of monitoring also. So under each point, like under engagement performance, human resource, you can bring the issue of the lack of the control partner to pick 1 point under those sub-points. It's good. It's not repetitive. You're just under those different areas you are addressing, speaking to the points. Very important. So the examiner gave us 7 here. So please read through to be able to understand the dynamics. And finally, documentation of quality control procedures, and that is 3 marks. Documentation of quality control procedures. So you discuss 3 different points and you are done with that. So if you look at the requirements for documenting evidence of operations should be where your thoughts should center on, and also retention periods. How long should you retain those documents? and also be mark conscious, 1 mark each for every relevant point you provide. So I believe this question 1 is not too technical. If not the introduction of that ISQC 1, I believe the question is easy, in my view, to be able to glean and pick your marks seamlessly. So if you look at the examiner's report, the examiner said 95% of the candidates attempted the question, but performance was below average. Performance was below average. Of course, one of the challenges would be this ISQC introduction. And you see, he said some of the components of ISQC was tested 2 diets ago. So he repeated it. He repeated this question. And that is why it's good for us to review pathfinders to be able to, so that we'll be able to remember. And before the exam, we should be able to review more of these research pathfinders. We'll look at where he's testing his questions generally from. So 2 topics, chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 5 was what he tested in question 1. Chapter 2 and chapter 5, what was the tested? So chapter 2 is the regulatory environment, and chapter 5 is practice management. That was where he tested in this question 1. Okay, so do we have any question on question 1 so that we can?
No, it's just to go through it and go through it thoroughly.
Yeah, very important. Very important.
Yeah, to go through thoroughly. That's why, of course, you tell us the year so that we can check in our records.
Exactly. I'll just us the year once we are done with the exam.
Mm-hmm.
With the debrief section anyway. Talk about the year. All right. Okay, so let's look at question 2. P-Grace Nigeria Limited. Your audit client is a national hotel group with substantial cash resources. Its accounting functions are well managed and the group accounting policies are rigorously applied. The company's financial year end is 31st December. The company has been seeking to acquire a construction company for some time in order to bring in-house the building and refurbishing of hotels and related leisure facilities. Like swimming pools, volleyball court, and restaurants, the management has recently identified Robin Construction Company Limited, RCCL, as a potential target and has urgently requested that you undertake a limited due diligence review. Further to the preliminary talks between the management of RCLL and PNL, you are provided with the following brief on Robin Construction Company Limited. Number 1, the CEO, MD, and FD are all family members and major shareholders. The company has an established reputation for quality construction. Due to a recession in the building business, the company has been operating at its overdraft limit for the last 18 months and has been close to breaching debt obligation on several occasions. Robin's accounting policies are generally less prudent than those of P-Grace. Assets are depreciated over longer estimated useful lives. Contract revenue is recognized on the percentage of completion method, measured by reference to cost incurred to date. Provisions are made for loss-making contracts. The company's management team includes a qualified and experienced quantity surveyor whose main responsibilities are 1, to supervise quarterly physical counts at major construction sites, 2, comparing costs to date against quarterly rolling budgets, and determining profits or losses by contract at each financial year end. And number 5, labor force is provided under subcontracts. During construction, the regulatory body visited the site and discovered non-compliance with site health and safety regulations. In February 2021, Robin received a claim that a site on which it built a house housing development in Banana Estate was not properly drained and is now sinking. Residents are demanding rectification and asking for payment for damages. Robin has referred the matter to its legal counsel and denied all liability as the site preparation was subcontracted to Sahara Services Company Limited. No provision has been made in respect of the claims, nor has any disclosures been made. The auditor's report on Robin's financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2020 was signed without modification in March 2021. Okay, so we are required to, with reference to the above scenario, prepare a document to give the explanatory meaning of the term due diligence and subsequently discuss items to investigate in a due diligence exercise. Wow, 12 marks. Advice on how to recognize, 1, measure, 2, present, 3, and disclose leases as required in IFRS. No. Okay, disclosure, yes, IFRS 1. But leases is IFRS 16, not IFRS 1. IFRS 1 is adoption of IFRS, right? The corporate accounting
Yes,
people.
first time adoption.
First time adoption.
First time
exactly.
adoption.
First time adoption of IFRS, but leases is IFRS 16. Thank you
Timothy,
for
don't
that.
jack everything. Oh. Hey,
Yes,
Timo, Timo, hey,
I did
hey.
not jack everything. I
I
Jack
like that.
everything.
He's
Hey,
ready. He's ready.
He's ready. Hey,
Yes, he's
so
ready.
this April, oh my goodness, nobody recognized me again this April.
Exactly.
Okay.
Once it's 1st of
All right,
April.
Nice one.
Okay.
You guys are responding well. I like it. So I think this IFRS 1 shouldn't be first time adoption. It should be 16. It should be IFRS 16 on disclosure of leases. So I'll go back to the question to see. 16, yes. Okay, so how do we attack a question like this? You can see 12 marks allocated to the A part and 8 marks allocated to the B part, making 20 marks.
Document. Explaining meaning of the due diligence. I feel this. Wow. So prepare a document to give the exact meaning of the term due diligence. Well, your explanation, you should give 3 points in your explanation. So 6 points for explanation and also 6 points and discuss items to investigate in a due diligence exercise and 6 points to 6 items while investigating due diligence exercise. Yeah.
So if you notice, there are about 3 questions from those 2 questions. If you observe, there are 3 chapters he tested. Number 1, he tested chapter 12, assurance services. Due diligence is a type of assurance engagement. So you can see that we didn't need to run through our lectures. We have not reached chapter 12. He now tested chapter 8, audit evidence. While not strictly an audit or due diligence, an audit question, due diligence involves gathering evidence. So due diligence is like audit, because audit, you need evidence to be able to report or provide your opinion. And due diligence also involves gathering evidence. So you can ascribe that he also tested audit evidence, chapter 8. And the third chapter he tested was chapter 15, current issues. IFRS 16 on leases is a significant accounting standard and a current issue in financial reporting. It also impacts audit. So those are the 3 areas he tested, 3 topics. And we have not even started anyone. We've not tested anyone. So we need to run fast in our lecture so that we can touch those areas, even if it's summary. So looking at question 1, like Julie said, I like the breakdown of how you put the answers. So you see due diligence. Julie said you should have
6.
Yes, 6. So you can see the due diligence. He spoke to what it refers to, what it involves, its implication, the main objective, and also presented the adverse or critical report. So you can see numbering them one by one is also very essential. And also items to investigate based on what the question said. he said, subsequently discuss items. So it's a double barrel question. Number one, prepare a document. And number two, subsequently. So you split the marks between both of them. So going back to the answer, you will see that you give, like Julie said, give 6 or 5 to pick 6. Then for the investigation, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then also advice, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we have even jumped to the second question. Sorry about that. Let's go back to the first. Let's concentrate on A first. So give 6 for the first barrel, then 5 or another 6 for the second barrel. So the preparation of the document should have 6 points, and also the discussion of items to investigate another 6 points. Or you make it 7, 5. Or you want to do 8, 4. Whatever you do, please write 12 different headers so that you can earn the mark. Stratify them. So in trying to hunt for those marks, don't write full. I keep emphasizing it, don't write full. So write it in separate paragraphs, just like I used to emphasize, so that you can pick those marks seamlessly. You may not have time to read everything, but because of your structure, you just earn the marks. Because of your structure and your presentation, you earn the marks seamlessly. So based on that due diligence question for 12 marks, emphasize the explanation meaning, like definition, objectives, and the items to investigate: financial, operational, management representation, asset identification, benefits, and cost. So 4 marks for meaning, or for each meaning you provide, 4 marks for identifying 4 investigative or investigation items, and 4 marks for discussing them. So meaning, maybe 4 marks as you are writing, identification of the 4 or identification of investigation items, another 4 marks, and also discussing those items, 4 marks. You'll be able to apply this to the scenario of P&L and RCCL also. So for the strategy, please stratify your marks specifically. So like Julie said, 6, 6, or you do 7, 5. Pick 12 marks very seamless. So let's look at number 2, or the second area: advice on how to recognize, measure, present, and disclose leases as required by IFRS 16. So take note of that question. Recognize, 1, measure, 2, advise, 3, and disclose. When you read a question like this, just stratify 2 points for each. So for recognition, 2 marks. So you should give 2 points. For measurement, 2 marks. You should give 2 points. For presentation, 2 marks, 2 points. Same for disclosure. Very simple to pick your marks. So you can see for recognition, IFRS 16, there's a first 2 line for the explanation, 1 mark. However, IFRS 16 permits, this is the second mark. So write 2, is in 1 full paragraph, but you can write in that same paragraph 2 points, stratifying them with a full stop to be able to earn your mark very seamlessly. So focus on the recognition, measurement, the initial or the subsequent, and also presentation, disclosure. So 2 marks for recognition. Like I said, let me go back to the question. 2 marks for measurement, presentation, and disclosure. But if you don't remember some of them, you can say 2 marks for recognition. Just find your way around it. Then if measurement is what you remember, you can write 4 points on measurements, because you can earn up to 4 points there if you don't remember the other points for disclosure and presentation. So wherever it is you remember based on the 4 questions, because there are 4 bullets here, split your points based on the ones you remember. You may not be able to remember all of them under exam conditions. So split your points appropriately among all of them. But make sure you write at least 8 different points minimum maybe 4 paragraphs. If you look at what the examiner did here, there's 1 full paragraph, 1 recognition, 2 measurement, and he discussed so many things under measurement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He discussed 6 things under measurement. And under presentation and disclosure, he discussed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So for recognition, measurement, he now merged presentation and disclosure in 1 separate subheader. So just structure your report and be mark conscious. So 12 plus 8 gives us 20 marks. And that's how to pick the marks seamlessly. So looking at the examiner's report now, he said 70% of the candidates attempted the question and performance was average. So 50%. What was the pitfall? Candidates lacked adequate knowledge of standards and the specific ingredients required for leases. Yeah. So these are emerging issues. Lease is an emerging topic. So we need to pay adequate attention to that. All right. Any question on question 2? I believe it's a pepperish question, but then it's not bad. Yeah, go ahead, T.
No questions, sir.
No
Okay.
question.
All right. So it's 8:55. Before we go to question 3, let's go on a short break so that, but when we come back, we'll have to run so that we can look at question 3 to 7. We have 5 more questions, but the first 2, 1, 2, 3 used to be a bit tough. 4, 5, 6 used to be a bit easy, looking at the antecedents and trajectory of the examiner. So let's go on a short 10 minutes break